Hey, I think, are we live? Yes, we're live. Good day, everybody. There they are. Just looking for my glasses here. Welcome to the Holy Moly Show. Welcome to my screen is flipping out. This is going to be fun. I love it when it does this. Welcome to the Wholesale Real Estate Investing Show number 268 here on this beautiful New Op Day morning, June. What is it, 27th? Is that right? Yeah, June 27th, 2016. A little cloudy out here in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where I'm hanging out from today. Where are you hanging out from? Type it in. Let us know. We always love to talk with you guys to see where you're hanging out from. And hey, got a question about what we're talking about here? Ask us a question too. Love to answer questions for you. So this is the Wholesale Real Estate Investing Show, where by SAHA, we are SAHA. That is our wholesale real estate company here in Phoenix, Arizona. And there she goes again. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is going to be fun. Anyway. So New Op Day. Beginning of every new session. Yes, we don't like diminutive words, debilitating words, such as, that one that we call 7-day period. For us, it's a session. It's a new session. It's a new strong session. Yes. We don't like to begin that strong session with a bleh. We like to begin it with a new op day. Why? Because it's a new opportunity day. Every strong session begins with a new opportunity day. How powerful is that? Why don't you guys maybe adopt the idea? Hey, instead of it's another one of them days on starting another, you know what I mean? Yeah. So welcome to the new session. Happy New Op Day, everybody. And New Op Days, we always get into Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is what we discuss because this is what wholesale real estate investing is all about. This is what real estate is all about. It's all about relationships and a flashing screen in your face that drives you nuts. It's all about relationships. So your ability to handle people, to talk with other people, to do the things that this part 3 of this book that we're in how to win people over to your way of thinking. Don't you think that might be powerful stuff, powerful information, powerful tools to have in your toolbox when dealing with people? Don't you think if you wanted to be in wholesale real estate investing that winning someone over into your way of thinking might be helpful? Yeah, it actually is very, very helpful. And I'll tell you, it's been a big difference maker in our business because we have, obviously we have marketing pieces that we, present to people and things like that. And looking back on what our original marketing pieces were and what they are today, and the message that we were trying to portray then versus the message that we portray now, we'd be out of business today if we were still doing that same crap. Okay, that's just how it is. There's just the market changes. Does real estate market not change? Do housing prices go up and down? Are they flat for a while? I mean, do buyers get more excited about buying than sellers are about selling, and vice versa? Is there outside things that cause markets to go up and down? There's all kinds of things that do rules change? Do what you can and can't do change? All that stuff affects how real estate is happening today. And all of those things also affect how people are thinking about real estate. Okay. And so if you're not up with what's going on, if you're not up with how people are thinking about real estate at the current time, and you're still using the same old drab letters or whatever it is, same old marketing that you've been putting out, and you're not hitting, that thought process, what your message is isn't, hitting the pain point or whatever it is anymore, because, at one point in time when there was, foreclosures everywhere, vacant houses everywhere, people couldn't sell a house if they wanted to, right? You came along with a marketing piece that said, hey, I buy houses for cash. I can close quickly. I don't care what condition it's in. What do you think? You want to sell? And they're like, oh my God, there's somebody who actually wants to buy my house. Yes, call this guy right now, right? If you're still using the same marketing piece today, and where people are like, well, hey, market's going up, I got this house over here, I don't know, maybe I should sell it, maybe I shouldn't. Here's this guy saying, hey, I buy houses for cash, I can close quickly, I don't care what condition it is in. It's like, oh, well, maybe I'll call him one day. You got to think about what the people are thinking out there. What do they want? Your tired old message may not be hitting that mark. And if it ain't hitting that mark, they ain't picking up the phone and they ain't calling you. What's in this book can help you hit the mark, okay? Maybe it's just the way you're saying it. Maybe it turns them off. Maybe it gets them mad. Maybe you're finished before you ever got started because of those things. So we are now in chapter 9 of part 3, which, as I said, is how to win people over into your way of thinking. And for those of you who haven't been following along, just a real quick recap of what the 3 parts are. Number 1 is basically just the fundamentals of handling people. 3 basic things that you can do. Sorry, my phone's making noise over there. 3 basic things that if you just did those 3 things would make a huge difference in how people react to you, how people respond to you, how you get your message across to people, and not just in your wholesale real estate investing, I mean in your entire life, I mean, and including in your business too, as far as people that might be working for you, or associates, vendors that you have to deal with, all of those things that if you just adopted those 3 things in part 1 of this book, you'd have a you'd see a big difference. Part 2 is then 6 ways to make people like you. Well, you know what? People want to do business with people that they like, feel like they know, and can trust. So if there's 6 ways that you can make people like you, I think that might be helpful in you getting ahead and having the ability to work with people. And then the final one, or chapter 3, not the final one, but the chapter 3 that we're in right now, like I said, is how to win people over to your way of thinking. Again, a very powerful group of ideas and principles, and in ways that you can present yourself and your thoughts and your ideas to other people that's going to help get them on board with what you want. What could be quite helpful. If you want to buy the house at $80,000 and they want to sell the house at $100,000, don't you think that if you could win them over into your way of thinking, that might be pretty good for your business? Yeah, I think so. So chapter 9 is what everybody wants, and they don't want a flashing screen like that in their face, but they're going to get it anyway. What everybody wants. It starts out, wouldn't you like to have a magic phrase that would stop arguments, eliminate ill feeling, create goodwill, and make the other person listen attentively? That's pretty good. That might come in handy. Well, here it is. I don't blame you one iota for feeling as you do. If I were you, I would undoubtedly feel just as you do. It's not a lie. I mean, if you were that person, you would feel exactly the way they do. If you were born in their skin instead of that person, and you were raised the way they were raised, and you went through all the things that they've gone through in their entire life, and you got yourself into the position that they're in right now, and they were standing in front of you as them, you'd feel exactly the same way they do. That's just the way it is. You can't take credit for who you are. I mean, some people can. Obviously, some people work on themselves to change who they are into a better person. Most people don't. Most people just are who they are because of all those things, because of where they came from, how they were raised, all that stuff. And it's, they have that feeling that, there's nothing they can do about it. I can't change who I am. I am who I am. Yada yada yada. All that BS, right? Anybody can change who they are. You just have to work at it. You have to want it, and you have to work at it. Okay. But if you were in that person's shoes right there before you, undoubtedly you would feel the same way they are. So, like I say, this is not any kind of a BS statement. I don't blame you for one iota for feeling the way you do. Why would you blame them for feeling the way they do? They feel the way they do because of all that stuff. So I don't blame you one iota for feeling the way you do. And if I were you, I undoubtedly would feel the exact same way that you do. You would, undoubtedly, you would. So, but an answer like that, to a potentially volatile situation will soften even the most cantankerous old cuss on the planet. And like I said, you can say that and be 100% sincere because it's true. Okay, so it's not like you're trying to pull some bull that you have to convince yourself first that makes sense, and they're not going to see that you're pulling the, trying to schmooze them here. You're literally giving them the truth. I mean, so you can feel 100% sincere about it. And like I said, because you were in those shoes. He goes on to say, take Al Capone, for example. Suppose you had inherited the same body and temperament and mind that Al Capone had, right? Suppose you had his environment and his experiences. You would then be precisely what he was and where he was, for it is those things and only those things that made him what he was. The only reason, for example, that you are not a rattlesnake is that your mother and father were not rattlesnakes. So, as he says, you deserve very little credit for being what you are. And remember, the people who come to you irritated, bigoted, unreasoning, deserve very little discredit for being what they are. Feel sorry for the poor devils, pity them, sympathize with them. Say to yourself, there, but for the grace of God, I go I. He's just saying that, 3/4 of the people you will ever meet are hungering and thirsting for sympathy. Give it to them, and they will love you. That's big, giving someone sympathy. An angry person, why are they angry? Give them some sympathy. Give them some sympathy, and their anger just goes, just like that. If you put yourself in their shoes, if you think about what, how you would feel if you were in their position, and you sympathize with that, I can totally understand how you feel about this. I mean, if I was in your shoes, no question, I'd feel exactly the same way you do. You don't even have to say what that is. You don't even have to say that, how they're feeling. I know that you're, I would be feeling blah, 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 just like you. Just the fact that I would, if I was in your shoes, if I were you, I would feel the exact same way as you do. Just allows them to just, for a second, just say, somebody's listening. He gets it. That's huge. They feel that you're listening and you get it. They're ready to listen. They might still want to talk, but they are, ready to listen. That might actually give them the free rein to just like, this guy's listening. Blah, 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 blah. Let it all out, and that's fine too, because letting it all out gives you the information that you're looking for. So he uses an example in here of telling a story, giving a speech, or giving a what do you call it? he was talking about a broadcast. He was doing a thing on Louisa May Alcott, who wrote the book Little Women, and he was talking about it on the radio. You know, a lot of people heard this on the radio, and he had mistakenly said that she was from Concord, New Hampshire, when she was actually from Concord, Massachusetts. And, you know, he says, I probably could have slipped away with it once if I just said it one time, but oh no, you know, I had to say it at least twice in the whole thing. And so, you know, because of that, you know, being aired on the radio and whatnot, he just got flooded with, you know, letters and chafing, you know. I mean, he says, reading these letters, you would have think that he would have accused Louisa May Alcott of being a cannibal from New Guinea. The way that these, you know, people were indignant, some were insulting, some, you know, vented their scorching wrath upon him, etc., and so on. So anyway, he says that, you know, this one particular person sent this really, you know, just like chafing, you know, more than chafing, I mean, this really abrasive letter. And so he thought that, you know, I could call her right now and, you know, how does he put it here? He says, I felt like writing and telling her that although I had made a mistake in geography, she had made a far greater mistake in common courtesy. You know, and that was just gonna be the opening sentence, and then he was gonna roll up his sleeves and, you know, really rip into it, right? But he used his better judgment. He kept his control over the situation, and instead thought, you know what, I can make a game out of this. This woman's in Philadelphia, not far from here, and I travel over there quite often. I'm going to try to see if I can turn her hostility into friendliness, right? That's a game you should be playing 24 hours a day with anybody who is opposed to you or your ideas. See if you can turn that hostility into friendliness. If you can turn that hostility into friendliness, guess what? They just might come around to your ideas. Exactly. So he says that next time he went into Philadelphia, excuse me, he said next time that he went into Philadelphia, he gave this woman a call after she had totally ripped him in this letter, right, for being such a idiot, probably. But so he calls this woman up and he says, you know, hi, Mrs. So-and-so, you know, you wrote me a letter a few weeks ago, and I wanted to thank you for it. And she says, you know, in incisive, cultured, and well-bred tones, oh, to whom have I the honor of speaking? Well, I am a stranger to you. My name is Dale Carnegie. You listened to a broadcast I gave about Louisa May Alcott a few Sundays ago, and I made the unforgettable blunder of saying that she had lived in Concord, New Hampshire. It was a stupid blunder, and I wanted to apologize for it. It was so nice of you to take the time to write me. Oh, I am sorry, Mr. Carnegie, that I wrote as I did. I lost my temper, and I must apologize. No, no, no. You are not the one to apologize. I am. Any school child would have known better than to have said what I said. I apologized over the air the following Sunday, and I wanted to apologize to you personally now. Well, I was born in Concord, Massachusetts. My family has been prominent in Massachusetts affairs for 2 centuries, and I am very proud of my native state. I was really quite distressed to hear you say that Miss Alcott had lived in New Hampshire, but I am really ashamed of that letter. I assure you that you are not 1/10 as distressed as I am. My error didn't hurt Massachusetts, but it did hurt me. It is so seldom that people of your standing and culture take time to write people who speak on the radio, and I do hope that you will write me again if you detect an error in my talks. You know, I really like you. I really like very much the way you have accepted my criticism. You must be a very nice person. I should like to know you better. So, because he apologized and sympathized with her point of view, she began apologizing and sympathizing with his point of view. He says, I had the satisfaction of controlling my temper, the satisfaction of returning kindness for an insult, and I got infinitely more real fun out of making her like me than I could ever have gotten out of telling her to go and take a jump in the Schuylkill. I had to try to figure that, the Schuylkill River, right? So, like I said, he had a whole lot more fun. That's what's cool here is, not just was he, taking the high road, so to speak, and, apologizing to her and making her feel good and sympathizing with her and all of that. But instead of just, cutting into her and unleashing on her for being such a biatch in her letter, he's like, hey, I'm going to make a game out of this, and I'm going to see if this is going to happen. And sure enough, the whole situation turned around. She came to, in a very short conversation on the phone, feel like she likes this guy and that she wants to know him better. I mean, not only in wholesale real estate could you use this. Hey, single guys out there, maybe, this might work out there in the field, right? This is like powerful stuff here. So, but not only that, like I said, he had a whole lot of fun out of making her like him than he could have ever gotten out of just, like I said, telling her to go take a jump in the lake. He says, every man who occupies the White House has faced almost daily with thorny problems in human relations. President Taft was no exception, and he learned from experience the enormous chemical value of sympathy in neutralizing the acid of hard feelings. In his book, Ethics in Service, Taft gives rather an amusing illustration of how he softened the ire of a disappointed and ambitious mother. And I haven't read this yet. I was a little unprepared this morning, but I'm just going to read what he wrote here because I've read it before and it's pretty cool. He says, a lady in Washington wrote Taft, whose husband had some political influence, came and labored with me for 6 weeks or more to appoint her son to a position. She secured the aid of senators and congressmen in formidable number and came with them to see that they spoke with emphasis. The place was one requiring technical qualification, and following the recommendation of the head of the bureau, I appointed somebody else. I then received a letter from the mother saying that I was the most ungrateful since I declined to make her a happy woman as I could have done by a turn of my hand. She complained further that she had labored with her state delegation and got all the votes for an administration bill in which I was especially interested, and this was the way that I rewarded her. I apologize for my choppy reading here, but these are written from back in the 30s and 40s, and the delivery of the way that this is written is a little bit different from how we write today. So it kind of catches you off guard on some of this stuff. So anyway, yeah, so I mean, she did all this stuff and thinking that he's going to, just hire her son for this position. He appoints somebody else. She's upset, pointing out that she did all this for him, and et cetera. And this is how he rewards her. When you get a letter like that, the first thing you do is to think, how can you be severe? You think, how can you be severe with a person who has committed an impropriety or even been a little impertinent? Then you may compose an answer. Then if you are wise, you will put the letter in a drawer and lock the drawer. Take it out in the course of 2 days. Such communications will always bear 2 days delay in answering. And when you take it out from after that interval, you will not send it. This is just the course I took. He says, after that, I sat down and I wrote her just as polite a letter as I could, telling her I realized a mother's disappointment under such circumstances, but that really the appointment was not left to my mere personal preference, that I had to select a man with technical qualifications and had therefore to follow the recommendation of the head of the Bureau. I expressed the hope that her son would go on to accomplish what she had hoped for him in the position which he then had. That mollified her, and she wrote me a note saying that she was sorry she had written as she had. But the appointment I had sent in was not confirmed at once, and after an interval I received a letter which purported to come from her husband, though it was in the same handwriting as all the others. I was therein advised, due to the serious nervous prostration that had followed her disappointment in the case, she had to take to her bed and had developed the most serious case of cancer of the stomach. Would I not restore her to health by withdrawing the first name and replacing it with her son? I had to write another letter. This was to the husband, to say that I hope that the diagnosis would prove to be inaccurate, that I sympathize with him and in the sorrow he must have in the serious illness of his wife, but that it was impossible to withdraw the name sent in. The man who I appointed was confirmed, and within 2 days after I received that letter, we gave a musical at the White House. We gave a musical at the White House. The first two people to greet Mrs. Taft and me were this husband and wife, though the wife had so recently been in articulo mortis. So basically that second half is, I mean, he wrote a letter to the woman in a very nice way, explaining why he didn't appoint her son for this position. And then she tries one last ditch effort to, send a letter in as her husband, which obviously he says, obviously it's in the same writing. So, I mean, he knows it's her, claiming that she took ill and everything else. But then obviously he must have invited them to come to the White House. So he extended a very awesome courtesy here in doing so. And then here, there's no more animosity amongst because of him not appointing his son to the position. But I like what he said here is, receiving that initial letter, that scathing letter of why didn't you do all these things, when I've done all this for you and all that, blah, blah, blah. And same thing, I mean, in person, talking with somebody, if somebody's ripping into you about why, blah, 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 you didn't do this, it's worth delay. It's, some people say, stop and count to 10. I mean, if somebody's ripping into you physically, live and in person, and they stop, and you don't respond, that in and of itself is going to give them a little bit of time to reflect on what they said while you're, concentrating or you're contemplating what actual words you want to allow to come out of your mouth. They get a slight chance to stop and think about what just came out of their mouth. They might already start feeling a little bit, embarrassed and ashamed. And then, I mean, obviously, if you rip back into them, boom, that you just reignite that fire. Whereas if you can come back with them with, if you can delay long enough to come back with something that's going to say, and hey, especially, what? I could totally understand how, how you feel right now. I mean, if I was in your position because of this situation, I would feel exactly the same way as you do. And if you were to say that to this person right then in the heat of the battle, so to speak, imagine how that's going to diffuse the whole thing. They might even come back right after that with saying, "Oh man, I'm really sorry about ripping into you like that. I just got so frustrated. It just boiled over. I shouldn't have done that." You never know what kind of response you're going to get, but just that one little sentence to dissolve or pour water on that fire can really make a huge difference. So we're out of time here today. I want to thank all of you for being here. Hope you really enjoyed this stuff. I want to tell you what the principle is for this chapter 9. Basically, is be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. do it by putting yourself into their shoes. And with that, as we always end the shows, O universe, I ask not for more riches, but for more wisdom with which to make better use of the riches you have given to me at birth, consisting of the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever end I might desire. And guys, make it a great New Op Day. Have a wonderful session here. Hope you go out and get some deals. And we'll see you back here on Wisdom Wednesday for some more gold nuggets. Thanks for being here.